Shalom, people. This is Brother Laws coming at you with another video, and this is going to be a follow-up on my video about a month ago about the results from the Nigerian presidential and senatorial election. Now, since that time that I talked about, the Peter Obi and his running mate having the votes, um, they challenged the results of the election and the guy from Lagos State being declared the winner, some guy named Tinubu. And they said this guy was convicted in the United States in absentia for drug dealing or something to that effect. I don't know. They said it was been maybe over 10 years or so ago that this happened. I don't know. We do know that there is a lot of corruption in Nigerian politics and the government. There's no doubt about it. But what Peter Obi and his running mate have been trying to do since that time is bring a case against the elections in the to the I guess the Nigerian Supreme Court. I don't know what stage that they're at with that, but what I do see is that you can now pretty much see that the West had their hand in these elections turning out the way that they did. We know that Nigeria had to borrow the money in order to put in that new electronic voting system called Beavers. I don't know if America helped them craft it or whether the European Union. But supposedly it was supposed to be totally electronic, but they used it and paper ballots, and they had disruption at the voting sites because of people getting killed and some of the ballots and different things being stolen or not uploaded. And I just really don't. I don't think that the Nigerian people should put hope that the corrupt government failed them, but that the even probably more corrupt judicial system is going to help them, because the Bible says in Daniel 4:17 that Yah allows the bases of men to rule over these nations. And all the things, the good things that Peter Obi wants to bring is not what the West wants, and it's not what even some of the people in Nigeria want. Some of the people in Nigeria want the country to be partitioned between the tribes. They want to have their own, because we know that it was put together by the British, of three tribes: Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa. You got some Fulani in there too, but that they were put together by the might of the British Empire. But that there's always been infighting amongst them, and even since the announcement that Tinubu, who I think is from Lagos State, which is where the Yoruba seat of power is at, they said that some of the Igbo people who voted for Peter Obi that lived in Lagos State have been told, you gotta leave, because even though the Yoruba probably themselves understand that the elections were totally corrupt, their man is in. They're standing to wield great power in the nation, right? And so of course, they're gonna say, well, we don't see any corruption here. And so what do I think is going to happen? Well, I think you look at the fact that the Igbo hold tightly to Biafra, and they want to fight for it tooth and nail. If the Most High is supposed to be, sending back His Son Yeshua to gather us from all the four points of the earth, and we put our hope and trust in any other land outside that, I think the Most High has to shake our faith in that land so that when it's time for us to get out of there, we won't be hesitating. You can kind of almost think about um, Lot when he was in Sodom and Gomorrah. That area was very, very wealthy. The Bible said in Genesis that it was like the Garden of Eden, and they made a lot of money off the slime pits that were around there, from which they got salt, because salt was a very important mineral at that time. And in fact, the word we get for salary comes from salarium, which is, you know, deal with salt. People would actually, buy and sell in salt because you got to have uh, sodium in your body to equalize yourself. So Lot was looking at a lot of loss of income if he would have pulled out of Sodom and Gomorrah, and it took Yah to send those angels to pretty much yank him and his family out of there. I think the Igbo need to wake up and lesson they're prepared to fight another Biafran war in which they was underarmed. They wasn't getting no assistance from the world. They might as well wait for genocide, but I don't think the Most High want them to be genocide. We know that a lot of them during the transatlantic slave trade were brought to the Western Hemisphere, but it's still, I think the majority of them are still in Nigeria, but that the Most High, that West Africa is not going to be their final place to be, but he has to make it uncomfortable for them to be there. And they had to know that the Yoruba and the Hausa leadership, maybe the people, maybe the people of the tribes, the ordinary 9 to 5 guy on the street that was Hausa or Yoruba, that wanted a Peter Obi government that promised no corruption. Maybe they wanted, but their leaders didn't want it. And also the fact that there's definitely from the optics, it definitely looks like the West had something to do with this thing turning out, and also the fact that, when it was some kind of British politician, stated that the Nigerian elections were, even though we seen all the corruption, death, and all that, the word that she used was they were very interesting, and that's it. So what it tells me is the powers that be are gonna, basically say, hey, we're gonna go with the results of that election to continue on this degradation of the nation as being a nation of fraudsters, drug dealers, computer hackers, all these different things. And I'm saying to my brothers there that are Igbo, hey, those of you that know that you are the people, and that you know that Most High Yah is going to gather us together, that Biafran, are you really going to sacrifice you and your family to stay there? I know it's a lot of wealth and everything, and the oil and everything there in Nigeria, but many of your Igbo brothers that have gone to other countries throughout the world trying to escape the persecution there in Nigeria have done pretty well. Now, some of them have used illegal means to get their wealth. We're not talking about those. We're talking about those that legally came to countries and, became doctors, lawyers, scientists, and all these things. So you got to know that if you leave Biafra land, you can make it in other places. I'm not telling you to give it up, but I think that if you start seeing that the Yoruba and the Hausa, once Tinubu gets in, they really start pushing your buttons, and they really start like they're doing to a lot of the Nigerian, the Biafra, the Igbo businessmen in Lagos, where they're telling them they got to leave because they voted for Peter Obi, and y'all saying that some of y'all going back, to your ancestral land. I think it's time that you understand that unless you get arms and take up arms, that even if you go back there, that they're gonna be coming after you, right? So you're gonna have, two things you can do. You can try to get arms shipped in, which we know that they don't want y'all to do that, or you can start making plans to go somewhere else throughout Africa, which I think is a lot of you that have gone down into South Africa, or you again you can take your stance. I don't know what would be the answer, but we know, just like here in America, a lot of us who are of the tribes, we got to understand that this is not gonna be our final place to be. That the Most High is gonna gather us out there. So again, I'm not saying that Pete Obi don't have a chance to win his case in the Supreme Court, but it's not looking really good today that he's gonna be able to overturn, because they've had elections since the presidential election, which were, they said, pretty bad there. But in a lot of those elections, those results on a lot of them are gonna stand, because the problem that they said that they're gonna probably run into is that if any of their people get into office, right, during these elections, which are fraught with fraud, are you going to say, well, that election was good, that these elections wasn't? This is the problem that they're going to run into. And so I go back to Daniel 4:17, where he said, Most High allows the basis of men to rule over these kingdoms, because we are still in the times of the prince of this world. Satan is definitely going down, but he's still on his throne. He's still the God, little g, of this world. So he definitely has his sway in this, definitely in this nation of Nigeria. He has his sway in every other nation, but definitely the corruption in Nigeria is really off the chain. And like I said, to see some of these films, these videos coming out of these guys running in there with AKs. I think in some polling places, they release wild dogs or something to keep people away from the polls. It was really crazy. It kind of reminded me of what my ancestors faced back in the 1800s and other times when they wanted to vote, and white crowds would chase them away from the polls and all these other kind of crazy stuff. But in this instance, it's black people doing this against each other. So when will it stop? So with that, continue to pray for them, that they'll be able to overcome this somehow and get some semblance of peace once this is over. If it's all peace between the Yoruba and the Igbo, the rhetoric seems to be ramping up day by day, and all it's going to take is a few more instances. And also, if the Igbo, retaliate, I think that this guy Tenebu, who was a Yoruba, he definitely would probably clamp down and use that as an excuse to go in and be even more brutal against them. They already released videos showing some of their businesses and shops in Lagos states of the Igbos being burnt to the ground in their homes too, and people chasing them through the streets. So I don't know what more can be done, to wake our people up there. So with that, I'm going to ask you to give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to ask you to leave a comment, and I'm going to ask you to subscribe. Be blessed.